Welcome, everyone, to Around the Edge inaugural podcast. I'm Tom Ahles, co-founder of Edge Home Finance, and I get the honor and privilege today to sit with my good friend and longtime team member here at Edge Home Finance, Mr. Andy Treno. Andy, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Did I hear inaugural?
Inaugural.
So This is the first?
This is the first.
Wow, I'm incredibly honored. Would have been honored either way, but I didn't realize this was the first.
It is. You know, Jake has been doing some great things around the office and with video and promotions and everything. And he said, we need to do a podcast. So, I think it's a good idea. I've been on a few, as you know, with some other industry leaders, and it's been a good example to not only sit and have a conversation, but to learn more about the people that we work with and that we get to spend a lot of time with. So that's you and me today, buddy.
I love it. And you mentioned Jake, too. Learn from him, learn from everyone around this office. That's what I love about being here is a lot of diverse talents here.
Don't give me too much credit. I was just about to ask what inaugural meant.
That's beautiful.
Oh man.
Well, let's dive in, Andy. You've been with Edge now for what, 8 years?
Coming up on 9 years.
Coming up on 9 years. Wow. So
how long has the company been around?
Since 2011. So we've been around 12 years. Really, right. I'd say it's 2012. We got all the licensing stuff done in 2011, and then started doing business really 2012.
All right. Yeah, and at 12 or 13 I came over?
Yeah.
We'll have to look at the math there, but
yeah.
It's been a while.
Who came first? Was it you or Tom?
We were a package deal, actually.
Okay, so both of you guys came.
Tom being my dad, not the Tom sitting next to me, but my dad was in the business for years, and we were running a branch, came over to Edge, and, ironically enough, we laugh about it, but at the time, we were looking for a place to just do our job that we knew how to do and be left alone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how Edge was at that point. You know, there's a bunch of people on little islands all over the place, which is incredible when you look at where we come, because now it's all about the culture and being here and helping one another. And I can't imagine saying, I want to be alone and I don't want to come to the office anymore. It's helped my business so much to meet everyone, to be in here. And it's been a good decade.
Now it has, and I to me, you're 100% spot on. I mean, I love the energy from working in an office compared to being at home. It motivates me more, and I learn, right? I think I can't tell you how many times I've been walking past either your office or Sid's or one of the other guys, and somebody's having a problem. And then, like most of us, when you hear somebody having a problem, we tend to be problem fixers in this industry, right? Especially those that are good at it. It's like, that's what I don't want to say drives me, but that's the part that gives me more, what's the word I want to use? Not want to say reward, but what is it? Gratification.
Yeah.
It gives you more gratification to help fix a problem, right?
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, whether it's a problem file or someone else's problem file, it's like a puzzle, and you put that puzzle together, you get that satisfaction.
Yep. So you guys came over doing reverse mortgages, right? Isn't that, if I'm not mistaken, your dad has been notorious in this industry for reverse mortgages, right?
Yeah, that's that's solely where he was focused. So that was all we were marketing for. He was marketing for. Based on my age at the time, I had a lot of first-time home buyers in my social circle. But that was the majority of our business at the time was reverses. And it's funny because that was like a little corner of the business that nobody paid attention to at the time. And now, I don't know, after the last 3-4 years, I hear more and more about it from people in the industry. And there's a little buzz going on again with it, which is good. It's a product I really believe in, and it's still a part of my business, but a smaller part these days.
Yeah, I know for me, anytime I get a reverse mortgage, I just refer it to you.
Yes, not a bad idea.
Yeah, there's so much to learn with different products that we have as far as, reverse or like even commercial. Like, I don't know. I'm a firm believer if you're not the best at something, don't do it. And if I was going to invest the time, and you've tried it before, I mean, you've tried to help me, I think, with it and understanding. And sometimes things just don't stick, so we just stay. I think it's best to stay in your lane with what you're good at. So
it's not that hard. You could do it.
I'm sure I could.
You're a smart guy.
It's much easier to just refer it to you and get the referral amount, and it's
Yeah.
a win-win situation. Let's back it up a little. So, you've been with Edge almost 10 years now, and prior to that, obviously, you were in the mortgage industry for a little bit. But give me a rundown. Like, where did you grow up? Where did you go to college? When did you get into the mortgage industry? So let's go in that order.
All right, the origin story. So, grew up here in the cities. Went to Edina High School. Pause there for the cake eater jokes. You're welcome. All right, I think we're through that now.
Are they the Hornets?
Still the
Yes,
Hornets.
okay.
Yeah, you'll recognize their championship banners. But went to Edina, and then after high school, I went out to Colorado State University out in Fort Collins, Colorado. Graduated there with a degree in finance and real estate. Thought I wanted to be a financial advisor, and for a lot of reasons, realized wasn't that really the thing for me. Worked at a bank for a couple years out of college, and we had a lot of products to offer. I learned a ton about banking and finance, and then what I realized is, from growing up around the mortgage business, I just had such a baseline of knowledge. I was ahead of what other people knew and were training for just on dinner table conversations from growing up. So I was doing really well in the mortgage side of that business. And, it'd be funny. I'd call my dad, who was in the business, and I'd tell him the rates that we had. And he'd say, "Oh my gosh, if I charged that to people, I couldn't sleep at night. I'd make 6 points on that. What are you making?" And I just kind of turned red in the face, like, $600. And, he's looking at 5 figures for a deal. And,
Yep.
the bank was paying me pennies.
Yeah. Yeah, they were paying to train you, though, right? Isn't that...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Paying to train me. And, people are walking in that door every single day asking for products. So, there's a lot of value in what they provide. I learned a ton. But as soon as I was specialized in one thing, it was broker. I had to be a broker. That was the best thing for my clients. That was the best thing for me and my family.
So what year was that?
So that was 2009.
2009. Okay. So you graduated. I assume you and I are about the same age, right? I mean, I'm 42. You're
40.
40. Okay. So how long were you in college?
4 years.
4 years. I'm
4
doing the
years.
math on this.
Woo,
Like, wait
stuck
a minute
in.
here.
Yes.
Sometimes people take the 6 or 7 year plan and
No.
working towards that fake doctorate degree or whatever you want to call it when you miss a little time. But
No, I made it 4 years, and I got that degree in finance and real estate, and did a few years after that, and came back to Minnesota in 2009.
yeah, okay, that adds up. So
You checked my math on that?
well, I'm still because I graduated in '99, and if you're 2 years younger, it'd have been '97, right? So
No,
that's
you did math backwards there, brother. 01.
2001. Okay,
Yes.
there we go. 2005. See, you
Don't
came back
worry,
in
normally you have a
2009. I don't
calculator.
think I'm wrong on this. I think you have 8 years, right?
Yeah, I was out in Colorado for 9 years, but I graduated in 2005.
Yeah.
And then I worked.
For that bank for 4 years, roughly.
There was a brief stint
Okay,
at an
got it.
insurance company.
Okay.
And nobody was better off for that.
Yes, we all have those stints, I mean, I had it to where even when the market collapsed in 2008, I went back and ran nightclubs for a little bit just to be able to get back. I don't know. I don't want to say burnt out, but we got beat up pretty hard. 2008. So you got a chance to go through that as well too. Then, right at that point, if you were in Colorado when that happened, then.
Yeah, so I mean, I was working at the bank at that point, and that was an unbelievable place to be. Lehman Brothers is failing, and people are coming into the branch literally asking for suitcases full of cash, thinking, one of the biggest banks in the nation is going to fail tomorrow.
Yeah.
So that, you're juggling your job because you're a sales role, but at the same time you have to manage your customers, and you've got people legitimately scared about the entire financial industry.
Dude, that's crazy. I've never thought about it from that perspective. I was on the broker side at that point with the 2-year ARMs and 3-year prepays and 1% interest rate neg am loans, and it was really I don't know. For me, it's amazing how a lot of us didn't see that coming. And maybe they did, and maybe I was the one that was just that naive. But looking back on it and now going through, you know, a serious recession like that with housing prices falling and banks collapsing, there's still a lot of fear for people from those times.
Yeah, I think we're still seeing the fallout from that fear in a lot of ways. I talked about my social sphere buying houses when I first became a broker in the early 2010s there, and a lot of the people who didn't buy then were still kind of shell shocked. If it wasn't their parents, it was their friends' parents that they watched lose jobs and lose houses and move and get foreclosed on, and all these really bad things that happened. And I remember having a lot of conversations with people who didn't want to buy that now are in the housing market.
Yeah.
So it pushed off a lot of demand for 5 or 10 years. And I think that's part of what we saw here in this craziness of COVID, which talk about another insane mortgage and worldwide. But they're kind of correlated. The housing demand that we saw then, a lot of that was people that normally would have been buying in their mid 20s, which was 2012, 2013, 2014, and they were just totally shell shocked.
Yeah. What were you selling then back when you were working at the bank? Because obviously they still had demand,
Yeah.
right? Even though, like on our side, everything, because it was all subprime, it dried up. Like
Yeah.
everybody went to FHA. I didn't even know what an FHA loan was in 2008. It was, all that we sold was subprime, right?
Yeah.
So what was it? What were you guys selling at the bank that kept it going?
Anything we could.
Yeah.
So, I was a personal banker. I mentioned I thought I wanted to be a financial advisor. So those investment dollars were something I was going after initially. But as people are looking for suitcases of money because they think it's going to fail, structuring accounts to make sure you have as many possible accounts that are FDIC insured as possible.
Yep.
So we'd be bringing in money from other places and you get paid for new deposits. Then they cut off access to all home equity lines, which I was a leader in home equity line sales.
Yep.
And people literally coming in the door, hey, you guys sold this to me 3 years ago as an emergency fund. Emergency's here. And I'm on my computer, click, click, click. Sorry, it's closed. What do you mean it's closed? This is exactly what I had it for.
Well, it's that happened to a lot of people. I know for me, I remember the same thing happening with the lines of credit. I forgot about that until you just brought it up. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy time. I know. I would say I'm thankful that I went through it because it really taught me a lot of things in business. One, I say it all the time with us and how Edge has been created in having a platform that I feel is recession proof, right? Looking back to what happened with me, even on my business after that. No, I don't want to say after that. It was a little before that. Running a business, it was based on purchasing leads and high marketing expense, low LO pay. There's still a lot of people that run a really good business platform that way. But to me, that was, I would say, the biggest lesson that I learned through the recession was really understanding how to prepare for something like that, right? So what would you say your biggest takeaway was from that last collapse in 2008?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. Being able to run a business on low overhead and then the ability to adapt. Things were changing so quickly and you have to be able to scale up or scale down rapidly. So, you mentioned not having high overhead and whatever you do have, for as much as you can, being able to scale down quickly if you need to. Maybe don't get that 5-year lease, that 7-year lease.
Yeah.
Things that you pay up front for a year, maybe you could pay monthly. Yeah, it's going to cost you an extra X amount per year, but if you got to pull the ripcord, you're not sitting there looking at a business that costs you $20,000 a month to operate.
Yep.
Costs you $20,000 a month to operate on things that you can't back out of. It doesn't take long for even the most successful people to find themselves in a hole.
No, you're definitely right. Even as an independent originator, not even from an ownership standpoint. I mean, our model puts everyone in the place of almost, not almost, as being, you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to know, because we're getting asked consistently, like, do you want to invest in this with me? Do you want to we want to do leads with me? Do you want to go in with this with me? Or maybe you want to be in a magazine. And before you know it, you can be tied to, like you said, $20,000, $30,000 in overhead, even in your origination business. So it's good. I think that's something good to share with our audience, with our team members, just to let them know, it's something you need to make sure that you have, like, as you mentioned, you're not locking yourself into being forced to where your overhead's 20, 30, 40 grand a month.
Exactly. And at the same token, that doesn't mean don't spend money on your business.
Correct.
You have to invest in yourself. And like you said, our model, and particularly here at Edge, we're all little entrepreneurs running our own business. And if you see that opportunity, you got to be willing to go after it. But be aware and leave yourself the ability to adapt if you need to.
Well, let's fast forward a little. Let's go to, we went through the last recession, 2008, housing collapse. Now we had COVID, right?
That was fun.
It was. I mean, to be honest with you, like, to me, obviously we know it happened. The mortgage industry just boomed during COVID, right? I mean, it went from, it was still busy 2019 though as well. I mean, we were going through the part to where properties were starting to appreciate rapidly. Interest rates were good, but they weren't great. How did you do during COVID?
Survived,
Yeah.
thankfully. And jokes aside, I'd say business and personally, it was trying.
Yeah.
It was difficult to scale up like I needed to because everybody was so busy and so many people were joining our industry. And, I'd say that's probably someplace I failed. I didn't do as good as I could. The phone was ringing all day, all night, and there was nothing to do but work, and worked as much as I could and tried to help as many people as I could. And it was something that was challenging and rewarding and stressful and
It's nuts.
yeah, there's a lot of emotions, but we did well. We helped as many people as we could, and I think pretty much everyone out there who's got a mortgage is happy that they got it during COVID.
I joked, you've heard me say this before, but I would like, you literally could not have a conversation with your mailman without getting a refinance.
Yeah.
It was like rates were at 2.25%, 2.5%, to the point where people that said they would never refinance, I got a rate at 3.875 and they're refinancing the 2.5%. It was insane.
And at the same time, like everyone's perceptions got so skewed. I kind of look back and laugh at some of the conversations that I'd have when someone would be like, 299, last week you said 2875.
Oh, yes.
And I'm sitting there thinking, tomorrow it could be 7. Yeah. Like, do this now. Are you kidding me? We're talking about an eighth of a percent below 3.
Yeah. And I think that's, to me, that's an important lesson because even now, right, rates are 6s, we'll just say, but if waiting when it comes to real estate, unless you timed it perfectly in 2007, you sold everything and you timed it perfect, real estate always never pays to wait.
Yeah. And you mentioned it earlier too, that who could have seen that coming? Right. And in some respects, like a lot of people looked at that and said, this isn't good. Subprime isn't good. Nobody thought the entire global financial system was going to be at its knees because of subprime. We thought, okay, there'll be some foreclosures. So to that, yeah, you're not timing anything. Nobody is that smart to time it. And especially if we're talking primary residences here, it's a place for your family to live.
Yeah.
Get that house when you need it. And then when something like that comes along, take advantage of that.
Yeah. Let's talk about some branding for a moment. I've always stuck with either Edge or I have Tom the broker. Let's talk about your branding a little, because I never understood, because I'm not a hockey guy, right?
Yes.
For one, I grew up in Akron, Ohio, and before, I don't know when the first hockey team was in Ohio. I know it's the Columbus
Blue Jackets.
Thank you.
You're
Go
welcome.
figure, so it to me, I didn't even know about hockey until I moved to Minnesota, and then everybody does. But let's tell us, what's your slogan? What's your marketing? How do you brand yourself?
So I brand myself. I'm the Lone Goalie, lonegoalie.com. We're here to give you a great save on your home financing.
Yes.
So I grew up playing hockey. I was a goalie when I grew up. I spent a lot of time at the rink with my pads on, and then took a little break when I went to Colorado. I kind of played men's league and stuff out there, but came back here to Minnesota. I was coaching high school for a couple years until the kids came along. And
Where were you coaching high school?
Hopkins.
Okay.
So here in Hopkins, which is now where my kids play. So when they were little, I had another hiatus there. But then as soon as my oldest son strapped on those goalie pads, it was back behind the bench for me.
Yes, that's exciting. So now you coach for your kids, is that correct?
Yeah, I coach. So my youngest is a mite, which they're just little guys running around out there. And then my oldest is a squirt B2. We had a intense late night double overtime shootout victory last night. So got to give a little shout out to Luke for crushing it and getting a shutout on that shootout there, so we
That's
could
awesome.
get the victory.
We got to talk about that a little bit this morning, and I could just feel the excitement. It's probably one of the biggest joys of being a parent is really being able to be plugged in and in using it in a way that one, you're being of service to your kid and to the community by coaching, but tying it in with the lone goalie. I mean, you got to wear a hooded sweatshirt or like a sweatshirt when you're at an ice rink anyways, right? So branding yourself to do it is just, in my opinion, it's wicked smart. It's something that you're passionate about. It works and it fits you well. So I don't know where you came up with that, but I really like it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And there was a lot that I went through until I got that one. And as soon as it was one of those things, laying in bed in the middle of the night, it's like, that's it. Does anyone have this? You're looking online to see if someone's got it already. And yeah, it's been fun. And that's the thing about this business. We can run it however we want. And that's something that's fun for me. And like you said, I'm buying hooded sweatshirts anyways. I might as well put a website on there.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe turn it into a deal or two.
And I think that's really for those that are, I mean, we're fortunate enough to be around purchase-driven, referral-based originators, right? I mean, to me, I think that's another reason why I love being in an office setting is I do get to surround myself with others that are doing the same thing to where you learn the craft. And for a lot of people, I still think that they struggle with understanding how marketing works in a self-generated business, right? Self-lead generating business, right? I personally, I don't do leads. I don't know if you do. We may help an agent every now and then on some little small campaign, but I'm not calling leads. That's just not who I am. And I think it's good to see, like, for how you do it. I do the same thing now that I think about it. I haven't branded myself that way, but even with my cycling team, right?
Yeah.
Like, if that's something that you like doing, brand yourself with it, right? I mean, that way that you are the billboard, you are your business card. I know, who is it that I spoke with recently? She's I do a call with her once a week, Amanda Phipps. She's big into, what do you call it? Paddleboard or pickleball. Pickleball. Yeah. And a lot of people are into that. It's like, it's obviously a booming sport where same thing. I'm like, find something that associates with that and brand yourself with it. She's like, really? You want me to be the pickleball broker? Or like, what am I? And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe,
Well, you kind of inspired that from me because you said a long time ago that, whatever you do it as your brand, as your business. Yep. And at that point, you were buying your first set of cycling tights.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call those. The onesies you guys wear.
Yes.
And you were buying those, and they have Edge on one side,
Yep.
and then your friend's dentistry.
Yeah, my friend's Eden Prairie Smiles that he sold. Yep.
Exactly. And you said, I can do this, and it's something I'm doing for fun with my friends anyways, and I can put my brand on there.
Yep.
And that way, they know what I do. And for me, what I struggled with for a while is I don't want to be that guy that's always selling stuff.
Yeah.
I always go back to, and gosh, this is I hate to say how old it is, but Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And he's walking across the street day after day. Ned Ryerson's coming across. Hey, have you talked about life insurance?
Yes.
And it's like, oh God. Like, I never want to be that guy. I don't want to walk into a room and ask someone what their rate is.
Yeah.
But, you know, your friends are riding around with an Edge Home Finance sweatshirt on, or they see loan goalie stuff. You don't have to walk in and sell them stuff. You know, they're going to reach out to you because they know what you do. You're an expert, and you don't have to be, as they say, that guy.
Yeah, I like it. The Edge Home Finance onesie. I could.
I don't know. I'm obviously not a,
For
I'm not
my
a golfer.
cyclist friends out there, that is a cycling kit, not a onesie. But that's good. You're right, though. I mean, to me, that's like the secret, right? When we talk about marketing in a self-generated, self-generating loan officer, it has to be authentic, right? And nobody wants. We've all come across the hard salesman. Like, I have a good buddy of mine, and he sells financial products, but he's pushy. Like, he goes after it so hard, it's a turnoff, right? Like, to me, exactly as you said, I don't want to be the guy running after somebody or feeling like I'm the person that's, calling about your extended car warranty. Like, that sucks compared to, as you said, subtle branding, as far as to where people know what you do. They know that you're plugged into your community. You're either, you're coaching your kids' sports. You're involved, right? That's the secret, right? And it shouldn't be a secret, but honestly, when you look at who our top originators are with Edge, right? Major OE brands himself with Major Money Matters and pushing everything with VA, and like, it's not like he's even his hat. I like his hat too, the Hope Dealer, right? Like, the point is, it's like all subtle branding, same as you do with loan goalie sweatshirts, the same that I do with, my cycling onesies. It all works the same. But so, like, one of the things that I'm gonna just ask, I want our audience to ask yourself is, like, what are you doing to brand yourself in your activities, right? Are you, if it is pickleball, if it is, who knows, right? I've even said this before, like, I like to go to church. I don't go as often as I should. I don't show up to church and I'm trying to meet people to sell mortgages. But at the same time, we are in a business to make connections, right? And the more connections you have, it's the oldest saying in real estate, your network is your net worth, right? Yep. So, I think that's hopefully that's a good takeaway. Let me ask you. This is a good question that a lot of people ask, and I'm kind of curious your take on it. What do you see happening here in the next 5 years in the real estate mortgage market?
Gosh, that's a great question. And if I had the crystal ball, that would be fantastic. But, based on what I've seen and what's been going on, I think we're going to continue to see a lot of demand. And based on the houses that are out there and what's being built, I think that demand and the lack of supply is going to continue to drive a very competitive market for that middle of the road home buyer.
Yep.
I just don't see anything on the horizon that's going to change that. We've got, I mentioned it before, a decade worth of people that would have bought in normal scenarios that didn't buy because of the recession. Now they're all trying to buy. And then the other thing, boomers aren't moving.
Yeah.
They're the youngest old people ever. And what I mean by that, I think back to my grandma, and, she moved into an apartment in her 70s, and they had bridge club, and they cooked cookies, and, they'd go swimming for 20, 30 minutes a day, but that's it. Now you see people in their 70s, and they're playing pickleball every single day, and then they go swimming, and then they go on a walk, and then they go home, and they may not mow their lawn, but they may look at that and say, why would I downsize? I got this great mortgage, or Treno got me into a reverse. My housing payment's comfortable. I like the yard. I like the house, and they're active. So that supply just isn't coming on the market like it did 30 years ago when old people were old.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grandma.
No, that's good. That's good insight. And honestly, I agree with you from that standpoint. Coming up here in the next, let's just say for the rest of this year, to where right now we're beginning of March. what are your goals for the rest of this year? What do you hope to accomplish?
That's a great question. So, I always do goals at the beginning of the year, and there's numbers that I put out there, but really it's more focused on growing personally as well as professionally. So growing my brand was something I wanted to do. I started this lone goalie thing last year, but I'm just having fun with that. So I'm trying to get into more events and do things that are fun. I've had success in this business, but it's really about helping people and doing things that I enjoy. So growing my brand was something. And then I said personally, simple things like going to the gym more, which I started last year, and it's going. And reading more. I've read more books in the last. Again, I started early. I did a pre-New Year's resolution. So last 6 months, I've read more books than I had in the 5 years before that.
Oh, I want to do that. That's one thing I struggle with is reading books.
Well, I cheat. I don't
The
read
audiobooks?
them.
Yes, that's
I
all right.
listen to them.
That's all right. I think that counts the same. It's still mindful time to where you're listening to an education. You're just the same as if you're reading it. So
Yeah, and for me, that's like I said. There's a number that I put down, but that's not my focus. This year, the focus is just on being. Well, what my wife and I came up with is 2023 be the best you can be.
yeah,
And that's just the focus. The numbers are going to fall in place if you're doing the right things, and if I'm growing as a person, the business is going to follow too. So it's less about the numbers
Yep.
and more so just about getting better and being the best that I can be.
yeah. Well, I doing the right things. I see you doing right. You mentioned it where you got your branding together. You're plugged into pretty much every community that I know that you're in. In a lot of them, we serve together in those communities, right? You serve with Vetted VA, which is a great organization that you and I have been a part of for quite a long time. It's kind of fun because, truthfully, even though we compete, we really never compete. Like that's one thing I appreciate about you is like even in Vetted VA, we could say, hey, somebody's listed first and you get more business if you're first. And we always come together and like try to work out what's fair, right? And it's not even a point of coming from typically you care more that I'm getting the fair shot. And I think I've always, I try to do that as well, right? And I think I think that's admirable, right? It's one of the reasons I love having you around here. Love that you've chosen to stay with Edge for as long as what you have, and we continue to grow together, especially also in AIM, right? I mean, you've played a pretty big part in AIM. I know you're working on something, in my opinion, that we rolled out this year that was huge that we needed, right? What is that?
Yeah, so go back to Vetted VA. And Vetted VA is awesome that we do. I don't want to put that aside before I get to AIM. That's been an awesome opportunity, and again goes back to just helping people. Feels good.
Yep.
But with AIM, ever since it started, we needed a little more structure, and it was something I was vocal about was having a set of rules and a code of ethics, and rules that people could follow. Because we are stronger together, and we've seen that as AIM has grown, how strong we can be as brokers when we're unified. So when they came up with a code of ethics, they came to me and said, "Treno, you've been pretty loud about this for a number of years, and you're going to chair the committee." And I don't think I had much of a choice in that. It was one of those I was being voluntold into that.
Yes.
But I wouldn't have had it any other way. If I hadn't gotten that call, I would have been barking up that tree too to say I want to be involved. And that's just the type of person that I am. If things are happening, I want to be involved. I want a part in it. I'm not one to sit on the sidelines and complain. If there's something that I want to see changed, I'm going to jump in and do whatever I can do to change it.
That's really, to me, the part that's neat about that is not only coming up with the ethical standards and having a system that we created now with AIM to where if there is a complaint, it actually goes to a board to where people are we get to decide who, truly if somebody is being disrespectful or slandering or there's a multitude of things that could be an ethics violation, right? And it's fun to finally see what you and I talked about, in passing for years. Like, hey, what is a broker, right? Just like the basic
We don't
questions.
have time for that.
I know, we're not going to. But we got into those questions and then talking about, hey, is it a privilege to be, a member? Is it a privilege to be a broker at Edge? Is it a privilege to be, part of Edit VA? Right. And I think the answer, I know the answer. The answer to me is yes. Right. And I think when you look at it that way, there's a lot of good things that come from that. Right. It's relationships. Business is you definitely get business from all of those things too. But that's more of a, what's the word I want to use when you get an effect of doing something? It's more of a what?
It's a byproduct.
Byproduct.
Of what
Thank
you're
you.
doing.
There you go. Yeah.
And
So,
that too comes down to when we're talking about branding yourself in the things that you're doing. It goes back to that being salesy and being sold. If you're not genuine, you're not doing it for the right things. People can tell.
Yeah.
Nobody likes being sold to. If you were in your role at AIM or I was in my role at AIM solely for getting business, people would see through that, especially other salespeople would see through
100%.
that before you opened your mouth.
Yes.
And it's over. You've lost all credibility.
Yep.
But when you're doing things for the right reasons and you're genuinely trying to help people, people are going to gravitate towards you. And going back to our previous conversation about suggestions for other people, if you're doing whatever you're doing, the pickleball gal or whatever you're doing, and it's salesy, people are going to see through it. But if you're just enjoying it and doing things for the right reason, it's going to be very successful.
there's an art to it, though, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's so tough to teach.
I know it is.
People talk about it, and how do you tell someone to be genuine and
right.
and
How
be
to
real?
do givers gain, right?
Right.
I mean, it's like, hey, I'm not. And Matt HBS says this all the time. I don't look at he doesn't look at ROI on something. He does it because it's the right thing to do, right? And I think that's where you and I have always aligned really, really well. If it's the right thing to do, we're going to do it. Yeah. And sometimes we may lose money, but sometimes we make money from it, and it doesn't matter, right? It's like I think that's what the definition of character is. And appreciate your character. Appreciate you being on our inaugural episode, right? I think this is going to be a good opportunity, one for our team members at Edge to get to know each other, but even community members, right? It's to hear a little bit of the backstory on what you've went through, the struggles that you've overcome in this industry, to really being one of the leaders here at Edge.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thankful that we found Edge a decade ago, and I got an office. I finally said, don't leave me alone. I want to be part of the team. And luckily I got an office next to you. And like you said, we both just immediately hit it off. I could tell that I was dealing with someone who had the same mentality that I do. So I'm really thankful for how this has all worked out. And yeah, it's crazy. Went 4 years bouncing around between 4 companies as they folded and got bought and sold and this and that. And now here I am a decade at the same place, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, same. That was not a fun time moving jobs. That was never fun. I know.
I never moved though. Just the sign kept changing out front. Guess who you work for today? I don't know.
That's wild. That's wild. Well, I think that's all we have for today. So appreciate everybody tuning in. We will continue hosting some amazing people from around the Edge, both team members, realtors, financial advisors, really anyone that we think can bring value to our team here at Edge and in our community. So thank you.
Next week.
I don't know. That's a good question. We're going to have Howard next week. Next week. See, I even hit the mic there. Let's try one more time. Next week, we're going to have Howard Bailey. Howard's been one of our top guys for a long time, too. He's had his struggles up and down, which I'm sure we'll get into. But as you know, we just have a good group of people around us.
The best. Yep. Love being here and love being on this podcast. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Have a great day.